right, so I think we probably have about everyone. I want to welcome everyone. We're going to be having our sports marketing panel today. And just you can scan this QR code if you would like to join our mailing list. You know, if you're new and you'd like to join our mailing list, you can scan that QR code and you'll be on it. All right. So the agenda for today, first thing on the list, we have a job opportunity. A marketing project support position has opened up and someone has reached out to us and they would like to get a NUMA member to be filling that role. If you're interested, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you to the application, which is a Google form. And I believe I can also send the form in the chat. And I'll do that in a minute when I can find it. But also, if Ryan, if you want to send the link in the chat, if someone can't scan the QR code, you know, that'd be great. And then we have an update with NUMA Network or Newman. And Newman is our mentorship program for incoming freshmen, anyone that is kind of looking for a mentor, and we're looking for mentors to apply right now, and anyone that would like to get involved. So you can check out our most recent email to get a little bit more information about that. And then for NUMA agency,
Wait,
for
Rachel,
anyone,
can I say,
yes,
I
absolutely,
hop in
you can
really
go ahead.
quick? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll turn my camera on. I'm also, for members that are on right now, I'm sending out a survey to get your year because we don't have much record of that. So if you could fill out that survey, and I'll probably send it like tonight or tomorrow, to just put your year in. If you're like a freshman, second year, third year, fourth year, senior, whatever, that will be really helpful when making mentorship groups. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Sorry, Ryan, did you want to say anything about the job opportunity?
Sure. So this is from Mary Kane, who's an assistant dean at Dearmore McKim. So she reached out to Rachel and I and asked about this position that she's looking for. They need some social media help, someone who can help edit videos, just a lot of impromptu tasks like that. It's about 5 hours a week and it's paid. Since it's through the school, I'm under the impression that international students who would otherwise require a visa can also apply. So I know now is kind of a hard time for job opportunities and everyone's kind of looking. So that's definitely something to look into if you're in that position.
Yeah, awesome. And for anyone that's kind of just coming in, I know we got a couple extra people. If you're interested in that job opportunity, just scan the QR code in the top right of the slide and you can get access to the application. So next on the list, we have an update on NUMA agency, which I'm sure plenty of you know about by this point because we talk about it all the time. It's our consulting program that we're getting started this semester. So if you applied and you're waiting to hear, we are interviewing project managers this week and we'll be complete with that part of the process by the end of this week. And then in the coming weeks, we're going to be, in the next week or so, we're going to be picking out team members, solidifying that. So look for an update in about a week if you were looking to be a team member. All right, and without further ado, we can get into our sports marketing panel. So introducing our panelists, starting with A6, do you guys want to just say your name, title, introduce yourselves, and kind of go down the line?
Sure. Spencer, do you want to kick it off?
Oh, you want me to kick it off? Oh,
Yeah.
sure. I was going to ask if you wanted to kick it off, but thanks, Erica. I'd be happy to. Hi, everyone. I'm Spencer. I'm a consumer insights analyst at ASICS. I graduated this year from Northeastern, so fresh out of the university into the real world, trying to figure out how to be an adult. Let's see, what else do I want to say about myself? I majored in marketing and management information systems, and I'm super happy to be here. NUMA was a huge part of my life throughout college at Northeastern, so it's always great to be back.
Great, and I will go next. My name's Erica. I am also with the ASICS digital team. I've been with ASICS for about 4 years now. I'm a marketing manager working specifically on the performance run product and category. Prior to that, I was with IMG, a sports marketing agency in New York, working on the Kia account and their NBA sponsorship, and then started my career working in PR for an agency in New York, focusing on sports and men's lifestyle products. Way back before then, I went to Syracuse University and I graduated with a dual degree in sports marketing and public relations. And I also ran track while I was there. So definitely have a lifelong passion for the sport of running.
Awesome. Emma Adelman. I work for Nike. I am a technical product manager for Converse.com, which means I run all of the development teams for the storefront developments. If you go to Converse.com in the US and Western Europe, that's me and my team. It's pretty fun. It's a lot of work, but I like it. I graduated from Northeastern in 2009. I was a marketing and management information systems major. Before Nike, so I've been here for about 2.5 years. I worked at Schneider Electric as a service and product manager for B2B Internet of Things. That was pretty interesting for e-com. Before that, I was at a startup for a year in real estate as their sole product manager and marketing manager. And then I spent 7 years before that at Procter & Gamble. So working on really their blades and razors business. If you think Venus and Gillette, that was really the core of where I worked. And I did everything from being kind of an initiative or project manager, moving into being a digital marketing manager, digital marketing analyst, built a whole bunch of sites for that business, and then also worked on Gillette Shave Club for their subscription business.
And I'm Sydney Lerner. I was the social media co-op at Reebok this past co-op cycle. So I was running a lot of stuff across all of the brand channels. I was working on Twitter, on YouTube. I helped to launch TikTok and just basically worked with the team on anything and everything social media. I'm a third-year communications and media studies major. And so I got to combine some of that area of things with also a bit of marketing, which was really interesting to see from the social media perspective, especially growing up with it and finally being able to see what it's like actually working in that field.
Awesome. Thank you guys all so much for coming and being here with us. We're super excited. And also thank you, Sydney, for joining us. Sydney's manager was supposed to be here, but she couldn't make it. So Sydney's coming through and still joining our panel. So thank you so much. Much appreciated. So to get into our questions, tell me a little bit about what you do in your current position, about your role and your company as a whole. Oh, and we can just go down the line or however you guys want to do it. Start with Spencer again or whatever works.
I can start this time and then maybe we can reverse it next time.
Sure, that sounds good.
The Uno card. So ASICS is a sports company. We sell lots of different sports products. I think that Erica would know pretty much all of them. So maybe Erica, you can give a little bit more context to the breadth and depth of all the different places that ASICS plays in. No pun intended with sports there. For consumer insights, which is the team that I'm on, I never learned about consumer insights when I was in my marketing classes, when I was in my business classes at Northeastern. And it wasn't until my third and last co-op when I started working at ASICS that I really came into the role and started to learn what it is. And what I do in my role is try to bridge the gap between our marketing and our product development using feedback from our customers. And I do that in using 3 main ways. So the first is through interviewing, good old getting people that have bought our shoes or our products on the phone and talking to them about what they like and what they don't like about our product. The second one is surveying. I'm sure a bunch of you have taken marketing research or are going to take it, and you'll learn how to use Qualtrics, you'll learn how to put questions together. That's a major way that I communicate with our customers to learn the things that they like and don't like, again, about our products. And then the third one is social listening, which is involves data analysis, and it involves parsing through posts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and looking for keywords and key phrases about, again, what our customers like and don't like about our specific products, to be able to extract things from those posts. And then after I combine all three of those functionalities, so the interviewing, the surveying, the data analysis through social listening, I take them and then put them into some hopefully nicely formatted PowerPoints and reports that include actionable insights. And those actionable insights will hopefully be able to help people like Erica to know what to do with our marketing messaging, and will also help our product developers and product designers to know how to improve our products. So in the case of my work, I primarily work on our performance running shoes. So I would be doing that surveying, that interviewing, that social listening about our performance running shoes, and then come up with actual insights and recommendations for how we can improve our messaging and improve our products, just to make our customers more happy. So that's what I do in my role.
Cool. Yeah. And as an end user, I can confirm that your reports not only look nice, but do include those actionable insights. So that is true. And they are incredibly helpful in what I do in my role. Taking it back a little bit. So ASICS is actually a Japanese company. So we're headquartered in Japan, and a lot of people don't realize that. The name is an acronym. It stands for Anima Sana Incorpore Sana, a sound mind and a sound body. So that's sort of the ethos that the brand stands for, and we try to embody in everything that we do. As Spencer mentioned, we do produce a number of products for all sorts of different sports. So most people who are familiar with ASICS either know us for our running shoes, our wrestling shoes, or maybe our tennis shoes, but we actually produce products for basically every sport under the sun. So, everything from rugby to golf, like you name it, we have a product for it. We may not sell it in every region, but it's out there. So like Spencer mentioned, he works specifically on performance run, or primarily on performance run, and I do as well, to kind of make sense of everything. The company is divided up into a number of different categories. The key ones are performance run, core performance sports, which includes like tennis, rugby, basically all the other major sports that we support products for. And then the third one is sports style, which is more of our lifestyle division. So what I do day to day is work closely with our global performance run category team, establish what our key product launches will be for the upcoming season, and then work with them to build a digital campaign using the broader campaign assets and deliver that out to all of our global regions, making sure that they have materials that are basically plug and play, following best practices across all of our digital channels, whether that's social, e-com, email, paid media, you name it. So it's a lot of advanced planning, kind of looking at the schedule, what's launching when, and making sure our full seasonal story works together. But then the fun part is kind of working with our creative team to then brief that in and deliver the digital assets that help bring those campaigns to life. So that's the bulk of it. As Spencer alluded to, consumer insights is a really growing piece of everything that we do. So really what we do here at ASICS Digital in my role, working on the marketing side, is making sure that we're the voice of the consumer and making sure that that comes through in everything that we produce for the category team. It's easy to kind of get swept up in the numbers and making sure that everything, we deliver everything that we need to deliver to regions, but our job is to make sure that we don't only deliver, we don't check that box, but we make sure that it actually speaks to the consumer and encourages them to take that next step and understand why the product is helpful for them. So that's the key piece of what I do.
Awesome. All right. So over at Nike and Converse. So Nike owns Converse. Nike bought Converse probably like 10 to 15 years ago. So within the Converse brand, we're kind of run as a separate business. We do ladder up, I have kind of 2 reporting lines, one which goes through Converse and then one which actually goes through Nike and Nike Technology. So I work on, as I kind of mentioned, as a technical product manager for Converse.com. So what does that mean? So where Erica and Spencer are kind of looking at physical products, Converse.com is my digital product, right? And so there's this concept of having, you know, brand managers or product managers that are truly managing digital like product. So really, what does that mean? It means working with our business partners to understand requirements, working with the analytics teams to understand kind of any key data about our platform so we can optimize for performance, we can optimize for you know, click-through rate, conversion, whatever the key metrics are for the different teams. And probably the biggest piece too is coming up with solutions for those requirements and then running the delivery team that's actually, you know, building and implementing against these requirements. We're running 2-week sprints. So if you've heard of Agile and Scrum and software development lifecycle, that's what I eat, sleep, and breathe day in and day out. No day is the same depending on where we are in the sprint. And we're shipping code and releasing to production every 2 weeks in North America and Western Europe. I think one of the things that I've loved about kind of what I do and where I've landed in my career is it's really the fusion of marketing and technology and supporting the business. So there are kind of, I've worked in roles of kind of straight marketing, but I've also really enjoy enabling the business. So enabling someone like Erica in her integrated marketing campaigns, right? To bring that to life across our digital platforms. So that's a little bit about kind of what we do. Also about Converse, we have the Chuck Taylor, which everybody knows and loves. We also are in skate. We also are in basketball as well, and a couple of other market segments, and we're continuing to expand. So yeah, it's a little bit about our products if you didn't kind of know about the sports.
Yeah, so on the social team, we pretty much answered to every other team at Reebok. The way that Reebok is organized is through different categories of product. So based on a certain style of shoe or a certain market, that has a category. And that team puts together their campaigns and they send the assets over to us. So we get what we're going to post, when we're going to post it. But what's up to us on that side is how we're going to tailor what they've created for a social audience. So we work on copy, we work on just trying to create content that people will want to engage with, want to share, want to repost. And we found more and more as we were working just on the new channels and as things were changing that for brands on social media, it's really important not just to have your tailored campaign, but to have a very consistent brand voice and something that people feel is relatable and oftentimes more casual than, say, a website or an email. So a lot of what my responsibilities were on community management. So I would be going through our Twitter feed, through our Instagram, through just anywhere that people were communicating with us and looking for opportunities to engage back and help sort of boost the image of Reebok, whether that's helping someone with an issue that they might have had with a product, giving them a recommendation, or sometimes just hopping into conversations that aren't necessarily for Reebok. So we tried to do a lot of that, getting onto like the meme trends on Twitter, finding ways to collaborate with other brands. One of the fun things that we did when I was there is Gymshark tweeted that they were having a contest and people had to let them know their favorite workout song. And the winner, chosen just like randomly from a website or something, would get a gift card. So we decided to hop onto that, quote that tweet and say, all right, Gymshark, we see you. We'll also give your winner a Reebok gift card so that they can get a pair of shoes to match that outfit because Gymshark didn't sell shoes. So a lot of what you get on social that's different maybe from some of the other marketing teams is just that quick turn stuff, being able to answer to people and being able to get your brand name somewhere that it isn't usually in a way that's very quick. You have to sort of, there are risky choices that you have to make because sometimes you have to do things without getting approval up the line. And that was a little stressful, but it was very fun. It was a great way to sort of just like try new things out and explore social media in ways that I hadn't looked at it before, because I'd always been the consumer. I'd always had things targeted at me. And then to turn around and try that from the other side was really interesting.
Awesome. Sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself there, but that was super interesting to hear about all of your different roles. It's really cool to hear how all of you have very different positions. I think, kind of all across the board, which is really cool. And Sydney, I love the kind of the Gymshark story. That's very, that's very fun. And it's kind of cool to hear that a co-op got the opportunity to do something like that. So going into our next question, kind of a follow-up to that. How has your job changed since making the move to either a virtual workspace, some sort of hybrid? So how's your job changed, and how has your company adapted as a whole? And if we want to start the other way this time, so start with Sydney, then go to Emma.
Yeah, so I was on for about 3 months when we went online. And I was lucky that my job and how it was done didn't change too much, because everything was already so digital and so digitally based. But being virtual was definitely it was a lot slower to sort of get things approved, bounce ideas off of other people, because you couldn't just run up to them in the office. You had to seek them out over email or something like that. But what I found in the content was both, we had to be a lot more careful and a lot slower with things, especially when Black Lives Matter was a hot topic, and it still is. But when it was initially, the protests were starting up, there was a lot of conversation about what's appropriate, when we should be promoting, when we should not be promoting, and when we should make space for those other important voices. Because as much as Reebok's mission was to push Reebok, Reebok wanted to also be able to step back and let people speak up about things that mattered. So in that regard, we kind of paused a lot of our campaign stuff. A lot of the more buy our product marketing went on pause. But what we did start up again was TikTok. And that only started sort of by coincidence when we went virtual. And I was on a team with 2 other people to launch our presence on that platform. And I just had to sort of work alone and with the sort of advising of the other people on the team. But it's not like we had a production team to help film videos. I was working with, whatever I could make a tripod out of in my house and try to film something that was relevant to a trend and hop onto things while rocking some Reebok merch and trying to promote. So it was a very strange dichotomy of both holding back and being able to get more creative and jump forward on different projects.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So my job, I think, to echo kind of Sydney, so my job hasn't changed per se. I think so we got sent home on March 13th. Thank you, COVID. And we haven't been back to the office since. They've tried some, phased office kind of getting some people back, a couple people in the US, a couple people in our Asia offices, and also in Western Europe. And some of that has actually been rolled back. So we are working from home. In my world, it is digital, and I manage a lot of agency partners and vendors who aren't in the office with us, right? So there was always like a kind of a global component and a virtual component to my role. So I would say like my job hasn't changed because of COVID and closing retail stores. The focus on digital became so much more important. So the demands on our team over the summer, like in the spring and the summer, like were just really, really huge. So you had to make sure that you were constantly delivering, but at a sustainable pace, because we are in a marathon here. Like in the spring, we didn't know how long this was going to go on for. Like we're in a marathon. It's going to take a little while. I think what that means is, how do you manage what we affectionately call Zoom fatigue? So our company has made steps to say Zoom free Fridays, right? This is coming from the VP of HR at Nike saying Zoom free Fridays. We try to respect that as much as possible, but it means no Zoom meetings, right? So there's a kind of cultural shift in things that are happening. There's been all kinds of support for parents with children and families, right? Because you think about childcare, people are back to kids are back to school, right? Some hybrid, some in person, some fully remote. How do you manage that? So I'd say the company as a whole is sort of shifting and trying to also adapt and support us kind of in this time. I also think that kind of what Sydney touched on was really critical from like a marketing perspective and messaging, because I know that both like Nike and Converse have produced content around Black Lives Matter and other kind of things that have been going on this summer. And again, like Nike has kind of a more established voice in that space, and I think Converse took the time to kind of wait and come out with a more authentic campaign. There's pledging money, right, which the company has done, but there's also, you know, making sure that we have a truly like authentic brand voice, and that you are being really sensitive to what's going on, not just with pandemic, but with racial injustice. And then we also have an election going on. So like there's a lot. So it's just been, and I think the other piece too, the other dynamic is you don't have those like run-ins in the hallway to say like, hey, how are you doing? How are your kids? You know, you don't have that. So trying to find moments that are truly like authentic, to, like check in with your coworkers, whether it's a text or phone call or like Slack, however you can do it. That's definitely a change. And I think something that we haven't figured out yet. I think you as students as well, I think most of you are remote or like kind of you're dealing with the same thing, right? You're not in person, like in class with everyone all the time. And I think that's just a change that everyone is trying to navigate.
Yeah, definitely echoing what both Sydney and Emma said. In terms of like the general day-to-day, the transition from in-office to virtual, it was pretty seamless. Most of my stakeholders are global stakeholders based in either Japan or a European office. So, you know, I'm used to meeting with them virtually and kind of getting things done across time zones. So that wasn't too jarring. But you do definitely miss that personal connection in the office, being able to go out and grab coffee. I know, you know, I've scheduled virtual coffees and things like that with coworkers, but it really isn't the same. So it is tough to kind of find that more authentic way to connect with people and have those more organic discussions. So day to day, it's been pretty much the same. I would say some of the topics we were dealing with in this time and the huge increased focus on digital was challenging for our team as well. So it was tough, especially, you know, we relied a lot on travel and being able to have workshops with different teams and get together and brainstorm concepts around some of these big brand initiatives, not being able to do that and trying to find a way to have like a virtual brainstorm with people across every time zone in the world was quite a challenge. So that was something that we definitely had to work through in the beginning and are still sort of working through, especially as we ramp up planning for 2021 and the upcoming Olympics. So that's definitely been a challenge and we're working through it. The office has been super supportive of scheduling and understanding that, you know, we're all working from home. People have families, people may have children or elderly parents that they need to take care of. So we're all under a lot of pressure, not just in terms of what we need to deliver for work, but what we need to deliver in our personal lives. And one of the big challenges, I think, just working across so many different time zones, you know, Spencer can attest, we're on night calls with Japan several days a week. And it's tough to say I need a night off when people are like, well, what could you possibly be doing? There's nothing going on. You can't go anywhere. So just kind of keeping that in mind, that we do need to find that balance and you do need that time to sign off and kind of refresh your brain and kind of process everything that's happened over the past day or week or months, whatever it may be. That's something that, you know, A6 Digital specifically has been sort of leading the charge on and making sure that we're all at least thinking about it and they're trying to support us as best we can, you know, to take that time. We also have no meeting Fridays, and during the summer we had summer Fridays as well, just to try to give everybody a little bit more headspace. But it's really, you know, talking to people online all day, every day, it can be draining. But in general, I think I was pretty impressed with how easy it was to just, basically bring your monitor and your computer home and just say, okay, this is my office now. And it's actually helped a lot of us, I think, find more balance in our day-to-day too. Instead of, you're working and all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock and you have a call at 7:30 with Japan and you're not going to be able to get home. So then you're stuck in the office for all your night calls. At least now you can kind of take that time, sign off, get a workout in, eat dinner, feel like you're doing a little bit more for yourself in between that time. So it's been nice in that sense to just kind of have a little bit more flexibility in terms of when you can squeeze different things into your schedule.
Yeah, I won't add too much because I think everything you guys covered was perfect, and it really encompassed almost everything. Yeah, I definitely agree with what you were saying, Erica. It really feels like a balancing act a lot of the time. The positives and negatives of flexibility. It's definitely a double-edged sword. I think you really highlighted, yeah, it perfectly. One of the things as a young professional, I will say though, is that I am excited for the workplace moving forward. I do think that work from home and work from away or from anywhere are going to continue to be trends that big tech has made significant statements recently, like Twitter's pledge to allow their employees to be working from anywhere till the end of time, I believe, as have a few other large companies. As a young professional, that is pretty exciting to see, even though there are these like definite challenges with that flexibility. Like Eric was saying, being in a global business, you're kind of on from 8 a.m. till whenever the meetings stop on your calendar. But with that being said, I will say I do believe there's hope and that there will be a positive flexibility and hopefully balance for everybody in their work lives.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add too, this was sort of an unexpected benefit of the entire COVID situation and working from home is in an odd way, I felt like it brought us closer to some of our global counterparts that we had never had the opportunity to meet in person. So people that I had, never taken my camera off video to talk to, we were now talking off video, and it felt like you had a much more real, authentic, and personal connection to them. And you were talking about real things like, well, where are you staying? How's your family doing? Like having these conversations that were much more meaningful than the basic like, hey, how are you? How's the weather? Okay, let's get into the business call now. So that was a big thing, I think, is just kind of building those relationships across the globe in a time when we're all dealing with such incredible stress and uncertainty.
Yeah, I think with that too, like we've definitely had like more visibility into the lives of leadership as well, right? And there seems to be a little bit more empathy across the board for everyone's kind of living situation or whatever is going on, which is improving. It's improving the culture, which is really really good. It's also opening the door for, I think, a lot of hard conversations to be had about our workplace culture and about our workplace diversity. So that's something that I didn't really touch on earlier, but we are looking at within Nike and Converse our hiring practices and our diversity metrics across the board. And I'm sure ASICS and Reebok are doing the same thing, which is pretty awesome to be kind of like truly leveling the playing field. And making sure that for our teammates at Nike, as we're hiring, like, and as we're setting these new best practices, like, it's for everyone. It's so that everyone can be equally represented within the company, which is pretty great to see that level of transformation. And as a woman in technology, like, that's something that we want to continue to grow, right? And see that diversity change. So that's also been like another, I would say, bright spot that's sort of come out of the amount of change and turmoil we've had in 2020 so far.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really glad that you kind of brought up that opportunity that's presented by virtual and by everything that's going on in 2020, because I think we're always like also quick to kind of think of things as, bad and whatever. But there's definitely a lot of opportunities that are presenting themselves as well. So I'm glad we're seeing some progress there. So obviously you're all working in sports, and sports are something that is also kind of, in turmoil right now. So many sports are being canceled on the professional level, and even on, smaller levels as well. How is your company dealing with this issue? And are you seeing any opportunities in this space? Oh, and how do we want to do this? Do we want to go back to Sydney or? Sorry, don't know how to go
I
around.
can start
what-
on this one if that works.
Yeah, Erica, you take this one. I'll take the next one first. That way everyone's
Cool.
been a tribute.
Sounds great. Yeah. So in running specifically, pretty much every race through the rest of 2020 after, March was canceled. So one of the big things, obviously, well, not obviously, ASICS acquired Runkeeper about 4 years ago, which is a running app. When I first joined the team, I was on the Runkeeper team working in PR and social for them. And so having a running app was a pretty big leg up just in terms of transitioning kind of the experience of racing to digital and virtual. So I know we put a lot of effort into making sure we had a virtual race experience to go live pretty shortly after the pandemic hit. And we also worked to make sure that our training plans were highlighted. And then our other app, which is ASIC Studio, which is more of a general fitness app, we actually made that free and available globally so that people could train and work out from their homes. So that's more just general fitness related, less professional sports related. So making sure people just had something that was inspiring or something that they could train for to stay motivated during this time, I think that was huge for us. On the other hand, there were the Olympics. We were a sponsor in Japan for the upcoming Olympic Games. So that was a pretty major hurdle for the team, just dealing with that, and especially dealing with it in the first few weeks of being virtual and trying to come together globally and determine what to do and how to manage it. So I think we're going to see some lasting impacts on sports sponsorship just because of the level of investment that goes into these major events. And then, the fact that when they aren't able to happen, the ROI isn't quite the same for these teams. So I think that's going to be something that will change in the coming years, or we'll see lasting impacts of just how this will affect brands and what they sponsor and sports marketing and advertising overall. Yeah, so that's pretty high level, but at least on the ASIC side, I think making sure there were virtual experiences for our consumers to participate in and making sure we were there and ready, but then also kind of coping with some of these major events being canceled and figuring out how to make the most of it.
I would only add one more thing. I'm sure there might even be some people on this call that have started running during the last few months. There's been a spike in running now that gyms have been closed and people have so much free time due to being at home all the time. This is something we know. This is something that we have research to back up. And that's an exciting finding because for people like Erica and I and ASICS, which is a major player in the performance running space, it's exciting because we want to be able to provide those customers with great products and to capitalize on the fact that more people than ever are outside running right now. So it's definitely been really sad to see like the Olympics get postponed and all of the awesome content and that had been developed to not be able to be used for Tokyo. However, from a bright side, there's more people than ever running right now. So hopefully we'll be able to do some great things this year to capitalize on that and get people some running shoes so they're not using their 10-year-old trainers to go outside and get shin splints or something.
I think we sort of took a similar approach at Reebok of just acknowledging how many people are home and how the gyms are closed and what we can do with that. I mean, I can only speak to what we were doing up until the end of June, but when things first started to shut down and just everyone was in total lockdown, we focused a lot on pushing just like online workouts. And so Reebok has a gym that's associated with the headquarters in Boston, a CrossFit gym. And so the trainers there weren't teaching their classes. So instead, they started doing just virtual workouts online and on our YouTube. And also, we have a sort of subgroup in Reebok called Box. They work with young kids and try to just encourage them to get out and get exercising. So they also shifted to an online presence and just boosting those virtual workouts for anyone to join into. And we also partnered with Les Mills and were able to, through Reebok and them, and I believe through Adidas as well, because they are the parent company to Reebok, we're able to offer that membership for free so that people could start working out. And we also sort of just on things being canceled, we just social specific launched a campaign that we called Permission to Pause, where we just highlighted a lot the importance of taking a break and paying attention to your mental health during all of this, because it was such a crazy shift from people being so busy with just work and fitness and then like their own personal free time to having none of that and having to completely restructure it under so much stress and uncertainty. So that sort of existed to tell people like, hey, you might not know what you're doing right now. You might have to revamp your entire workout routine, but just take a break, take a pause, take a breath. It'll be okay. You deserve it. And we kept pushing that with different testimonials from people who had their gym shut down because of COVID. And they gave us videos to post just talking about what they had been doing to deal with it, how they were adapting, and how they were taking their own breaks to take care of their mental health. And I actually have to hop off right now because I have a prior commitment that starts at 8, but thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. And if anyone has any questions about Reebok or social media in general, feel free to hunt me down, find me on Facebook, anything like that. I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Sydney. Have a good night.
Good night.
Sure. So just to kind of round out this question, so Nike has the Nike Run Club, Nike Training Club, like kind of obviously what we've seen with ASICS and Reebok as well. Like there's been a lot of growth and promotion of the digital apps. And if you think about like the why there is membership. If you ever listen to an earnings call like of Nike, I actually highly suggest that you do. It's really interesting to hear like the CEO talk about membership. And the value of kind of growing these digital platforms and digital assets so that you can capture that consumer engagement with the brand. So that's like the individual level. I'm a little too far from some of like the sports teams like the NFL teams and things like that within Nike to really be like give you the scoop on what they did for their individual kind of sports. What I will say, and the other thing to consider of like what's been going on with the companies is as sports are being canceled or the Olympics is being moved out, consumer demand is also changing, which means that there's been a lot of focus actually on inventory management and supply chain. Because if you can't get the product to the consumer, right, that is a huge part of your marketing plans. The other piece is, what can be pulled up, right? What's maybe like ready to go or can be fast tracked to meet demand or swap in for a product that was maybe going to launch but doesn't make sense now because playoffs are pushed back or canceled or certain sports just aren't starting. Like how do you fill those gaps within your product calendar? And then the other piece too is how do you then manage the supply chain and the factory capacity if your factory is shut down for COVID or your DC is shut down because of COVID? So those are some of the other impacts that it's not just the marketing plans that are being impacted, it's like the entire company supply chain and how they operate. So we've definitely been doing some like redundancy on digital fulfillment within the Converse brand as well. We've been doing, a lot of inventory and supply chain kind of work to reduce any potential impact. So.
Awesome. All right. A lot of great answers there. Let's see. I do have a couple more questions from the primary set, and then we're gonna go into questions from the audience. I think I'll do one or two more questions from what I had drafted. I think let's go with what made you want to get involved with sports/athletics marketing? What kind of drew you to it?
All right, sure. I'll take this one. So I ran track, played lacrosse, was a cheerleader. I ski, I sail, I snowboard. Like I have always been a super active individual. I've run 3 marathons, Boston, Newport, and Disney World. Disney World is super fun. Like it's just part of who I am. And so when I started out with P&G, they have a lot of like really good partnerships with brand ambassadors. They do the Thank You Bomb campaign. Like there was a level of sports that was really interesting. And as I mentioned earlier, like I went into a real estate startup because I wanted like hands-on. I wanted to work at a smaller company. So I went from like 130,000 people to a company with 8 people, right? Like big difference. I liked it, but it just wasn't for me. I went and I played around with like circuit breakers and energy software and like solar panels. And I had always wanted to work for Nike. When I was at P&G, we always looked at kind of like the Nike ads and really some of that marketing collateral like as something to aspire to. And Nike bought Converse, as I mentioned. So that for me was always a company that I wanted to work for. And I think that there's this like balance of you have to like what you do. I love that I've tried a bunch of different things and I found out what I don't like. There's a lot of power in that. Like circuit breakers do not bring me joy. Great. But like athletic apparel, athletic footwear, like it really speaks to kind of who I am as a person. And I think from a culture perspective, it's a really good fit for me. So that's kind of why I've been drawn to this particular industry and why I love working in it.
Yeah, I can go next. Same background there. I grew up, sports was such a huge part of my childhood and high school for me. My high school term paper in history class was on the power of sport and global politics and social issues and what that meant. So it's something I've always been passionate about and cared about. And, it's why I chose to go to Syracuse and why I majored in sports marketing and PR. I knew I wanted to work in communications for a major global running brand. That's what I always wanted to do. Getting there, I actually, learned a lot as I was pursuing my degree in terms of what working in sport actually meant. And one of the things you learn is, you're going to have to work nights, you're going to have to work weekends. Sports are what people do to relax. It's what they do when they're having fun. So that means a lot of times you're on call in the evenings or on holidays or on weekends, times when you would rather be relaxing and having fun with your friends. So that's just something to think about. Depending on, which avenue of sport you're going into, it's definitely true. I'd be out to dinner and get a phone call when I was working on the NBA, like, the catering order didn't show up to the box in time. Like, what do we do? And you have to like sort that out and figure it out on the fly. And I love that. I love the adrenaline rush of it. I think it's super fun. But it is definitely a part of the job when you're working in sports marketing. So that's key to consider there. And then in terms of like my career path in sports, the best advice I got was actually from a news writing professor in college. At the time, I was kind of toying with the idea of being a sports writer. And I said, I want to be a sports writer. What should I do? And he was like, well, you're actually approaching this all wrong. Like, if you want to be a sports writer, you need to become the best possible journalist you can be. And I recommend you write about something that you don't care about at all. And just master the basics and get really good at it, and then learn how to apply that to what your passion is and grow into that role, and making sure that you're fully prepared for it. So that's why I started out at a PR agency working on just generic clients, is I wanted a ton of experience working on all sorts of different things. Most of my clients were automotive clients when I first started. So I learned a lot about cars and aftermarket parts, super exciting. But I did learn a lot just about the general principles of communications and working and how to approach business and questions. That I don't think I would have learned in a similar role at a more specific sports agency or something like that. So, you know, it's what I always wanted to do, but I think one thing I would advise all of you, if you're interested in working in sports, is just be patient and learn the basics and learn the fundamentals and wait until it's the right fit. There's a lot of bad jobs in sports out there. So just be careful with what you get yourself into. And a key thing is also pay attention to the team that you're joining. You learn a lot, especially in your first few roles out of college, from the team that you're surrounded by and who you're working for. So it's really important that you have a strong leader on your team and a strong, you know, mentor that you can look up to and things like that. You know, my first few jobs, I still keep in touch with the people I worked with, just because working with them was such a great experience. So that's another thing as you're looking to go out in the job market, is just, you know, really think about what you want to get out of it and what you want to learn and what you want that experience to be. And the people are a key piece of that.
Erica, I think the one thing I'll add to that is, like, I applied for a job at Converse Nike, I think in 2015 when I was leaving P&G, and I didn't actually end up, and then I applied again for a different job in 2018, right? That I got. Like, it was one of, right? So like that, it's that patience thing. I also think that every role that I've had has actually prepared me to be like a really good teammate at Nike and Converse. So if it's something that you want and you're clear about it, you will find a way to get there. So like, don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen right away. And I was hired in, right, because of my experience elsewhere. And because I worked for a company like P&G, or because I had startup experience and working with a developer, working directly with developers. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like, if it's not working out, especially in the market and the world right now, just like know that that's where you want to go, and like you will be able to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things I just add from a co-op perspective is continue coming to these panels and listening to all the awesome panels that come. I met my current manager when I was at this panel for Numa for sports marketing like 2 years ago. And like Emma was saying, like Eric was saying, figuring out what you don't like is just as important as is finding out what you do like. I did my first co-op in at ServiceNow in high tech software as a service. Current CEO of Nike, was the CEO of the company I was working at. So I was out in the Valley. Software is fine. High tech was cool, but it wasn't super passionate for me. I wasn't super passionate about it. Then I went into software for energy for my second co-op. So I was doing more software, more data, but I was in energy, but I was helping oil and gas companies, and I didn't feel all that great helping BP save money every day. It just wasn't really doing it for me. Last year, so exactly a year ago, I had, I think, 3 co-op offers, and I was going into the weekend. It was an October weekend, and I ran my first marathon. And it went well enough that on Monday, I called HR at ASICS and I was like, hey, I want to do that again. So I'm going to accept this role. And I guess it's been 9 months since I started in January, and I'm still here. I would bring it back to one of the things Erica said about how it's really important who's on your team and who the people you work with are. that goes for when you're applying for co-ops as well. They're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. And not feeling like you don't click with people that are interviewing you is a very important sign that you should keep in mind, jot a note down, and if you get the job offer, consider that as one of the main criteria for whether to accept or not accept a co-op, because the people you work with really do make or break the role just as much as the industry that you're working in.
Yeah, awesome. Really great to kind of hear about all of your journeys, and that was some great advice, Spencer, for definitely our co-op seeking members, and just the general, Northeastern bodies. It's good to hear. So we are a little bit close to 8, so let me know if you guys have to go, but we did get a couple of questions from the audience if you're available to stay for another question or two. So a couple people asked, will you be offering co-ops for the spring? I know things are a little bit different, and most of your companies do traditionally offer co-op/internships, but are things going to be different this semester? Yeah.
Yeah, so for Converse Nike, we don't have, I have tried to get co-ops within tech. I will keep trying, I promise you, like I will keep pushing it. We do have a formal summer internship program that can lead to full-time offers. So I will get that information over to Rachel, because I think the process is starting for next summer, at least for like us posting roles, or at least collecting roles. And then what we'll do is there'll be a timeline of when they're going to be posted, and there's a referral process. So I'll make sure I get all of that and then pass it along to Rachel, so that if you are interested, you can kind of reach out to her, and then also me, and I can try and help through that process. So sadly, like no co-ops, but I will keep trying from the inside.
Yeah, and Spencer, feel free to hop in if you have heard otherwise, but I do believe we're sort of reworking our co-op program. So I don't know what the plan is for the spring, and whether or not we're planning to have co-ops, but I can check in with our HR manager after this and get back to you guys to let you know.
And I will say we are still hiring for full-time roles, especially within the digital business. Like we cannot grow fast enough. So if you are in your 5th year and you're starting to actually look for your full-time roles, just start looking at Nike.com and then also Commerce.com for careers, and seeing if there's anything like that interests you. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help. But we do have a bunch of full-time roles that are being posted and being released gradually, and I expect there'll probably be another batch posted maybe like January, February as well.
All right, awesome. Yeah, things are definitely changing, but it's good to know that there are, still opportunities popping up. And I will definitely be checking in with Emma about, getting that summer internship information out to you guys. And then let's see, we had a couple more questions people sent to me anonymously / in the chat. So let me just scroll through for a second. Okay, yeah, asking if we have co-op positions. So maybe not for this spring, or things are being reworked, but what does it kind of look like to be a co-op / intern at your company? If you can just kind of give us an overview of the experience.
Spencer, I feel like this one is made for you. You
Yep,
went through it.
it's a layup.
It's a great experience. I think there has always been a great co-op culture within ASICS and within ASICS Digital, which is the part of ASICS that we're in. The amount of responsibility is that of a full-time worker. I think that it has all the it's hard to know what to go into, but it has all the benefits that most co-ops have, free snacks, couches, great managers, great people, 50% discount on shoes and other ASICS apparel. So
yeah. And co-ops, I mean, even back from when we were Runkeeper, before ASICS was even in the picture, they've just been such a huge part of the culture. There are a number of now full-time employees who started off as co-ops with either Runkeeper or ASICS Digital, especially on the technical side. Marketing, we're still working to get more co-ops into the program and try to have more help us out on our team. But yeah, echoing what Spencer said, it really is, we do treat co-ops like full-time employees. They have very real responsibilities, and they're on the hook for everything and valued the same way that any other employee would be. So from my experience, sort of on the other side, it's a great place to do a co-op. It's super hands-on. And as we've become more of a global company and kind of added these different layers of complexity to our business, it's a really great place to learn and be exposed to a lot of different things. So, your co-op may be in one specific area, but there are people sitting in our office who work on pretty much every side of the business. And you can learn more about fitness apps. You can learn more about the e-com site. You can learn more about CRM and the platforms that we leverage. And then you can connect outside of our office with all the various regional teams and all of the people who run, regional efforts and things like that. So there's a lot of possibility and a lot to learn, which I think for me, thinking about a co-op experience, that is a huge plus.
And I just dropped the 2 links that might be like most interesting for internships at Converse. One is marketing, and then the other is Converse Tech and Digital. Converse Tech and Digital, you'd work likely on my team or somebody else's team within tech. But just take a look at that. I know the timing is weird for co-ops, but if you can figure out how to work it in, might be worth taking a look at.
Yeah, awesome. And I think definitely for freshmen too, because if you're finishing up your first year, you're not going into a co-op cycle yet. So a summer internship is something you could totally look into if that's something you're interested in, and that'd be awesome. All right. I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us. If anyone wants to reach out to you guys, please, contact the Numa email. I'll happily give you guys, contact info for our panelists. And yeah, just thank you guys so much. This was awesome. I